Trump is a weak and failing president, and it's time we said so. It's possible for Trump to be an inept buffoon, but still extremely dangerous, just like RFK. That's what I've been saying about RFK. And it shouldn't be so hard to make that case. This is a new piece that's out in the New Republic by Greg Sargent, and it's real good. I want to share some of it with you because I think it really hits on some of the facts versus perception, how we can leverage facts to change perception. As always, I really encourage you to go read the whole piece. President Trump understands better than anyone else alive that his hold on his supporters, and plenty of swing voters too, depends on the mere perception that he's strong, wins everywhere, always acts boldly, and wields absolute mastery over his eternally feckless, disoriented enemies. The example they give is that last month we had a really bad jobs report, right? And Trump fired the steward of jobs data. He turned that story into one about how he was absolutely screwing the economy into a story about how he decisively crushed his newly designated foe. But he can't maintain that perception because the new jobs report has come out and found that this past month, we only added 22,000 new jobs. That's 73,000 fewer than we created in July. And also a revision shows that actually in June, we lost 13,000 jobs. Shockingly, firing the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics could not disguise the impact of Trump's own policies. As economists have noted, most signs suggest it is his tariffs that are an important reason for the economic slowdown. All of this suggests that Democrats have a fresh opening to undermine the foundation of Trump's political strength by portraying him as a politically weak, failing, diminished, naked emperor figure. And some new internal polling conducted by Senate Democrats hints as to why. The Senate Majority PAC polled 10,000 likely 2026 voters, and what they found was pretty interesting. 56% of likely voters said that Trump's tariffs are hurting the economy, and 44% said they're hurting the economy a lot. And this is really crucial here. In swing voters in particular, 57% said that Trump's tariffs are hurting the economy. This poll also asked, which of the following statements do you agree with more? President Trump's tariffs make me think he is a strong leader taking on tough fights for America, or a reckless leader making life more expensive for ordinary Americans. A majority of Americans said that Trump's tariffs make me think he's a reckless leader making life more expensive for ordinary Americans. And among swing voters, it's about the same. 50% said that it made Trump look reckless, and only 32% said it makes him look like a strong leader. This is striking because it was initially reasonable to fear that the tariffs would code as an act of strength, an act of moving to protect, since they ostensibly involve using government power to shield American workers from foreign competition. Right? If voters tune out the details and just focus on the fact that Trump is acting really decisively to defend Americans from global economic forces, then maybe it would have coded well for him. However, what we're seeing is that because tariffs, which are a tax on imports, right, that get heavily passed down to you and me, the average consumer, as well as to U.S. manufacturers who rely on imported components, it's crushing the jobs market. It's hurting the economy. It's hurting all of us. As Mike Consal of the Economic Security Project notes, the evidence in the jobs report is consistent with the notion that the tariffs are an economic drag. Industries most affected by the tariffs, manufacturing and construction, are seeing dramatic slowdowns. Between the new polling and the awful jobs numbers, Democrats no longer need to fear any Trump meta advantage on the issue of tariffs. Add to that the fact that an appeals court recently found most of the tariffs to be illegal, meaning they're failing polling-wise, economics-wise, and legally as well. And it's not just this one poll. Pew, Fox, Gallup, and Quinnipiac have all found Trump's approval over tariffs and or handling of foreign trade to be mired in the 30s. What's notable about all of this polling is that it shows that voters do not see the tariffs as an act of strength, as an act of protecting. Instead, they view them as Trump being reckless, that he's floundering around wildly, aimlessly, and destructively. Tariffs are now a political liability for Trump, and Democrats better get with the program and talk about how when you're reckless with the economy, that's a sign that you are an inept and weak leader. Trump is always trying to portray his political enemies as weak and enfeebled. and then framing himself as incredibly strong. Trump's most deranged displays the silly claims about crowd sizes that are overinflated, the dumb imagery of his face attached to cartoonishly steroidal bodies, his recent Truth Social post about using the military to wage war on Chicago. These have an over-the-top quality that is designed to convey an overbearing resistance is futile aura. Trump runs his tariffs through this frame as well, insisting that they are necessary because previous rulers were weak and feckless, and they failed to stop other countries from ripping us off. But they're badly debilitating us from within, and majorities see them not as a strength, but as blundering incompetence. Democrats need to attack this dimension of Trumpism. The essential story Trump world tells about him being strong, this is a fallacy. Trump always uses this strong versus weak, winning versus losing framework, and we need to harness that and use it against him. The article goes on to talk about why Democrats might be hesitant. Well, they're constantly hesitant to use that kind of language against Trump. But the author says we need to use Trump's flailing and thrashing around with ludicrous ineptitude while he ham-handedly boasts of sky-high approval ratings that just don't exist, as proof that he's nothing more than a two-bit tin pot with mercurial megalomania. Trump is underwater on all issues. He recently said that his approval rating was 71% and got brutally fact-checked in the press. At best, it's low 40s. Y'all, Trump is underwater on immigration, deportation, jobs in the economy, trade, inflation, cost of living, and overall, he's down another 11.2%. This last part here, there is a way to reconcile this authoritarianism versus failure paradox. Democrats can denounce Trump's abuses for the Rubicon crossing threat that they pose, while also asserting that his multiplying failures are exactly why those abuses are growing more menacing and more unconstrained. In short, Trump is a floundering figure of buffoonish incompetence who is simultaneously consolidating authoritarian power, which is precisely what makes this situation so combustible and dangerous. And Democrats can say exactly that. This very much echoes what I've been saying, not just me, lots of folks have been saying, which is that when authoritarians can feel their grasp on power slipping, when they can see that the people are resisting in greater and greater numbers, when they can see that their own actions to take away our rights, wreck our economy, wreck everything in this country, and ruin our quality of life, when they can see that all of that is making them more and more and more unpopular, Trump is desperate to be seen as all-powerful, super strong, incredibly popular, when he's terribly insecure and his grasp on power is incredibly fragile. The reason that he's so dramatically escalating his tactics, the reason that he's cracking down so fiercely, the reason he's throwing everything at the wall and seeing, like, how can I get these people to give up, is precisely because of his multiplying failures and how those are obviously, demonstrably a sign of weakness on every single level. His ineptitude is a sign of weakness. It is pissing the American people off. And he's like, no, I've got to menace the shit out of them so that they once again believe that I'm so bigly and powerful. Right, I just want to say again, like, that's not going to work on us. That's not going to work on us. But it is important for Democrats to explain that that is the situation. Trump is incredibly dangerous. Too many establishment Democrats act like this is business as usual when it is not. Trump wants to be all-powerful. He wants to take away all of your rights. He is trying to swiftly consolidate power and dismantle our democracy. But he has to do that because he has no legitimate claim on power. He has no legitimate skill. He is not ruling with the support of the people behind him. He absolutely is a floundering figure of buffoonish incompetence. But just like RFK, being incompetent doesn't mean that you're sweet and benign, right? Incompetence is weaponized in a kakistocracy. Incompetence is part of the plan. Breaking shit is part of the plan. Deviating from norms, smashing norms to bits is part of the plan. Creating a situation that is highly combustible, is highly dangerous, where they're hurting a lot of people, where they're trying to make you afraid, that's part of the plan. They don't want to govern legitimately. They don't want to make America better. They want to make it worse so it's easier to take away your rights. The incompetence is weaponized and put in every level of government. Look at Brooke Rollins at the USDA. Look at Kristi Noem. Look at RFK Jr. Again, permaculture person, I say the problem is the solution. This is an opportunity for the Democrats. Will they take it? Will they take it? That, I think, is the ultimate question. Will they learn how to leverage this weak versus strong perception in order to get a win? Will they learn how to stand up and fight with any kind of strategy and with tactics that will get the job done? So I hope they read Greg's article. I hope they read it, and I hope they take it to heart. I hope they take their own polling to heart and fight back.